Is that okay? Yeah, completed the story. Okay, all right. All right, we did it. That's credits, baby. Let's go. Let's talk about the ups and downs of the casting of Frank Stone, shall we? Let me turn this down just a bit. So, I have played every Supermassive game there is, and I have loved every single one of them. Some are better than others, but the worst one is still good, in my opinion. And the best ones are amazing. I think that this series does an excellent job. The best job. Let me start over. There is a sub-genre of video games that I call choose-your-own-adventure games, because I don't know what else to call them. There are these games where you have narrative-driven stories, and you have a lot of QTEs and or dialogue choices that affect the story going forward. And those range anywhere from games like the Telltale series, where little details change here and there, but mainly the story stays the same, to games like this, where whole scenes are different, it's not just the ending that changes, like whole scenes are different, realities are different. People die, live or die all throughout the game, and the end can be totally different from playthrough to playthrough, right? Even the middle can be totally different. This series does the best job of that. They do a better job than the Telltale games. They do a better job than Life is Strange. They do a better job than the Quantic Dream games, which are like Detroit Become Human, Beyond Two Souls, those games. I think they're probably second best at it, but Supermassive does the best job, and they're horror, which I've always loved horror anyway. So these are my favorite of those games because they do a lot of those games. You basically, like Life is Strange is a great example. That's a great series. Don't get me wrong, but there are only little details that change here and there, and then the ending that changes. That's it. Everything else is pretty much you're getting the same scenes, the same dialogue choices, no matter what. Pretty much. This series just does not work like that. It really works like the old Choose Your Own Adventure books, if you're old enough to remember. I don't know, maybe they're still around. Where you will thumb through it, and you go to page 57 if you make this choice, and then, get to a certain point in the book where you just get an ending. And you have to read through the book 20 or 30 times to get all the endings. If I played Life is Strange 2 again right now, I could get a different ending if I chose a different choice right at the end. But other than that, I'm going to have the same experience. I lost multiple people. I lost 5, as you can see from the death counter. And so I lost more than most. I lost most of them. And so if I played again, knowing that certain choices are going to lead to death and things like that, I would get whole scenes that I didn't get to see. And you can tell... That's one of I wouldn't call it a drawback, but it's one of it comes with the territory with this game that because it works like that and because things do change so much, you'll have whole scenes that are kind of cut up at the end because there are characters missing and whole areas of the game that aren't happening now because you lose a character early or something like that. But this series does the best job of that, of recreating that feeling like I'm reading one of those Choose Your Own Adventure books. And again, it's horror, and I love horror. So, and you're dealing with whether you can save everyone or not. And not pretty much, every single one of these games, that is the goal, is to save everyone. And you can, in every single one of them, I believe. But it's hard to do, especially when you're playing on the hardest difficulty like I was. And so I was not successful. But I don't replay games, but if I did, these games would be on the top of my list because I'm very curious to see what it looks like. I definitely got the feeling in this game, like if I had done everything right, there would have been a very specific ending that would have unlocked because, well, I'm pretty sure that that's true. And that's true. And it's more true in some games that Supermassive does than others. But in this game in particular, it felt like I could have unlocked a very specific ending, like a true good canon ending or something, if I had saved everyone. But we failed to do the task or whatever because we didn't have enough people, So, I loved that. As far as this game specifically, So that first, this game had more of a sense than ever that like the ending could have been like at the end I don't want to spoil it, but Until Dawn, the difference in the ending is just how many people you saved. Oh, you saved 7 people instead of 4. Good job. And maybe you get an achievement for that or something. But in this game, it felt like the whole end would have been different if I had saved everyone. Like it would have all gone a totally different direction. That was also true in the Quarry. The Quarry, there's like a very specific set of things you can do that you can unlock a later part of the story and continue doing something. And I actually got really close in the Quarry and then messed it up at the end. This gave me that feel too, and I love that. So I like that this game, even though it's one of the shorter ones, it had more complexity than something like The Devil in Me or House of Ashes or something. I feel like it had a lot of complexity. I liked that. As far as complaints, I don't think I have any objective complaints. Here's one. So this is tied in with the DBD universe, right? Dead by Daylight. And so there were some collectibles that were clearly referencing stuff in the Dead by Daylight universe that I don't know anything about. I've never played that game. I've watched a few minutes of it here and there on Twitch, but I've never played it. And I don't really, and I've never watched any of it at length. So I don't know anything about it. But there were some collectibles that obviously would have been a lot more satisfying if I knew about Dead by Daylight. It definitely catered to that some. So that was lost on me. And without spoiling anything, the way that the game resolved at the end made it seem like it was setting up what Dead by Daylight is, which is kind of cool, but again, it's lost on me because I actually thought that was kind of hokey, and it's not that satisfying to me because I don't know anything about Dead by Daylight. But I'll tell you what, if I love this series of games as much as I did, and I love Dead by Daylight, this would be my favorite Supermassive game probably, because it really does lean into that stuff a little bit. There's a lot of generator fixing. And that is one thing that I know happens in DBD. So, and I enjoyed those parts of the game. They did a really good job of integrating that stuff with like mini games and stuff in a way that I don't know how that mini game works in DBD, but like I fucked it up once and I paid for it because I didn't get the generator running in time. And I've seen clips on Twitch and TikTok and stuff of people not getting the generator going in time and the killer coming up and like hooking them or whatever they do with them. And that happened a lot, that kind of thing. A lot of hooks in this game. And yeah, I usually got through the generator minigame, but there was one time I did not, and I paid for it. And so there are some real stakes in this game. As far as any other critiques, it was buggy. This is day 2 of the game existing. I will say there was a patch that came through earlier this morning, and since then things have been much better. But the game, it never crashed, but there were a lot of weird, not quite T-posing, but there would be situations where after a cutscene would start and the would end and the gameplay would start, everyone would go like this and then just rollerblade, like they weren't walking, they would just teleport like to where they were supposed to be. There was some of that weird stuff going on, and there was one time at the beginning where a really funny bug happened where my character, I turned around in a really quick circle and my character's head got turned around on his body. And so his head was facing forward, but his chest was facing toward the camera. It was pretty messed up, actually. It was hilarious, but obviously it's not supposed to work like that. And it did kind of it was distracting. But nothing game breaking. Nothing too serious. Overall, I really, really love these games. The only hard question for me for this game, as far as how I'm going to rank it, is where it's going to rank among the other ones. I know it's not going to rank as high as The Quarry, because that game has just a level of depth and that because of its length and because it's a full-fledged title, that it's not going to rank as high as that. I think the next highest one I have is Little Hope, which I really loved. And I think this one's in that ballpark. So I don't know if I liked it better or worse, but if I liked it even nearly as much as Little Hope, then that's a good thing. I loved it. I always love these games, though. They're so good if you like that kind of choose your own adventure format and if you like horror. The only other, you know what? I'll throw one other piece of critique out there. It actually wasn't that scary most of the time. This game usually these games usually have a ton of jump scares. There was only one that I can remember in this game. There's not a lot of jump scares. There is a lot of tension. But I wasn't actually super scared very often. I was intrigued and enthralled with the story. I thought all that was very interesting. They do some weird cockamamie stuff in the story. It's a little bit of timey-wimey hijinks kind of stuff, but it's fine. It doesn't really bother me. It's probably not the story I would have chosen, but it didn't bother me. I thought it was fine. But it actually, now that I think of it, something like The Quarry was way scarier. Little Hope was way scarier. I'd actually say Little Hope is the scariest of all of them. House of Ashes, maybe on that level more, because that one was about like vampires or something. That one was less scary. I'd say it's probably more on that, where it was very cool, but it wasn't really that scary. I'll have to think about it. But this is definitely not the scariest Dark Pictures game, or is it even that? It's not the scariest Supermassive game. I'd say it's on the lower end, actually. All right. But I did love it. I really, really, just the format of the game is so satisfying to me. Okay, last order of business. The casting of Frank Stone. It has been a joy, but we are now going to delete you from our console and never play you again. Bye. Good job. Love you.